this is Bryan Callen being sad.
Yeah, a little self-reflection.
So this was him on Sam Tripoli's podcast, right?
Okay. All right.
So it's conspiracy, social deep water. I don't know, whatever. It's one of those. You know, I swear to God, there's a warehouse somewhere in LA that has a bunch of sets like this. But you know how the cam girls, like if you go to the cam girl places where it's just a bunch of different sets with different cam girls.
Yeah,
it's like this, but
like
for LA Comics podcast.
That or like you ever go to a trade show and they have all the booths?
Yes.
They have a warehouse just set up with all these booths.
It feels like if you were to pan back, it would just be a bunch of different sets for different LA comic podcasts.
Somebody should make that video where you take this clip of Callen and Tripoli talking and then pan out and then just keep adding the sets from other shows.
Yeah.
As you're zooming out.
I'm telling you. Like you pan out, like remember the end of the Indiana Jones movie where all the boxes, like the Ark of the Covenant? It's just
exactly.
Yeah.
Sam, about like this community called the comic community.
Oh, the comedy community, huh? The one that we were making fun of and you were yelling at us and defending. Do you mean none of those guys had your back? Hey, Brian, I want to say something right now. And this is something you could look up our old videos. You know who did have your back? You know who didn't believe you? Us. Didn't believe New York Times? Us. Because we were like, these people are... And by the way, even though you said very mean things about us...
Yeah, you said we didn't play organized sports.
You said we don't crush any puss.
I was terrible on the basketball team. I was terrible in Little League. Okay, I was actually not a very bad wrestler in JV. But pretty bad, but I played sports. And then you said we didn't crush puss.
We crushed it at bowling, by the way. But so you want to say we play sports? You should have seen us bowling. We were great. It was the thing to behold. And after all that, all your friends abandoned you, and we came on the show. You remember the show, Mersh? We came on and we go, these bitches are lying. He didn't rape anybody. And then we found one of those bitches doing stand-up at a fucking theater. Remember that? Remember the one?
But we don't count because we're not your cool LA friends.
Maybe next time.
Maybe don't throw Chris D'Elia under the bus and all these other guys.
And Hollywood. What really bummed me out, and you are such an exception, and I'll always be indebted to you.
Well, because you're on the show, I get it.
Is how and by the way,
what about Brendan? Does he mention Brendan?
No, because Brendan also.
I thought Brendan was an except. I thought they were boy B's boy.
Remember, it became the fighter and the black guys.
Kids with a Z.
Yeah.
I have a lot of friends I've known for very, very many years, and all of whom are in this business. And, you know, I went through a bit of a crisis, and none of them were there for me. And
you know who else he's talking about?
Brendan?
The big dog himself.
That's true.
He's talking about Rogan.
Big dog didn't look out for him.
He's talking about the big dog, the king of podcasting, Gino Bisconti.
The new king.
The new king of podcasting.
Gino Bisconti.
Pat Dixon punches him off of the throne. Fucking hilarious.
None of them are still there for me in any way, in any capacity whatsoever.
Including Joe Rogan.
Not limited to.
Joe Rogan, Brendan Schaub, Theo Vaughn.
Whitney Cummings.
More like Whitney Goings.
And I was kind of like, the biggest letdown was realizing that I don't have any friends.
Moment of fucking self-realization there.
So you're telling me. Okay.
You mean all your little LA fucking hipster friends who collect sneakers and weed and aren't you buddies? Turns out they're not your real friends. Bryan Callen said.
Letdown was realizing that I don't have any friends. That I don't have. You're my friend. I have a friend, but I'm saying you're really rare. But for the most part, there are people I've known for so fucking long that I can't depend on.
You know, the only other person that to give him credit that backed him up was Steve Burns, the Asian dude from Sullivan's.
Oh, yeah.
He's because immediately he was like, no, hey, come on, we'll do a podcast. Fuck them. And to give him credit, he did do that. He was like, no, hey, Brian, it's cool. We'll do a podcast. Fuck these guys. The only other person.
Even a little bit.
Yeah.
Even in the worst day of my life, that I cannot, and you have to understand that about this business, that I realized that I don't have a community. I'd never had a community. Comedy was not a community. Comedy was the most selfish group of people. Acting, Hollywood, the actors, the writers, and the directors, and the comics.
What? Remember what?
Basically all the non-civilians.
All the things that we told you, that we criticized when we were talking initially about many moons ago about the fighter and the kid and Brendan's job. This is exactly what we said. I go, you're all phonies. None of you care about each other. You hate each other. You'll walk over each other in a heartbeat. And then what happened was reality hit you, and they did. And they did. I've always said this, even when you look back at the old stuff, even when we used to criticize him. I think Bryan Callen can be very funny. I really do believe that. I mean, he is a funny guy. He has good timing and all that. I also think Bryan Callen's a fucking hothead. And I also think Bryan Callen's dad was in the CIA.
But also, like, you're just coming to realize now, at this age, that these faggy little cliquey, career-minded, snooty LA, like Hollywood types aren't really your friends.
Right.
Brian, you lost your family over this shit.
That's like, a fucking good point, man. God, I didn't think about that, Mersh. Good point.
Why don't you just spend more time with your family who would have loved you? Why don't you also, what I don't understand, right? I have more friends outside of this realm of shit that we do,
of course,
than I do inside of it, as you do.
Yeah.
So, like, have you thought about getting regular friends? No, because you think you're above everybody. You're not just going to hang out with somebody who's a systems analyst or just works in IT. You're not going to have any regular friends at a bar that you could go hang out with and have a few drinks with. You don't have that. Because you wanted to play with the cool kids. And it turns out the cool kids are never really your friends. It sucks, doesn't it?
It's true.
It sounds like you're blaming them when really it's up to you to not pursue all this empty Hollywood bullshit and then be disappointed that these people really weren't really my friends. They're just out here for a career. Yeah. Yeah. That's why I don't trust any of these goddamn streamers and shit. You know what I mean? So, you go to the events and, like, I could be friendly with people, but, like, I'm never going to be let down that some streamer's not. He wasn't really my friend.
No, I mean, of course.
That I know we're the most selfish people on the planet, and that nobody really gives a fuck about anybody. It's all about them. And
yeah,
I don't live that way. I don't live my life that way. I never have. And to my shame and to my detriment, because it was like, I think life should be about teamwork. I think we should all be there for each other.
Teamwork makes the dream work. I just came up with that. What do you think?
Dude, why stop saying shit like that on the air?
I mean, it's a Patreon people. They're not gonna steal it.
You're a fucking idiot, dude.
Yeah. Teamwork makes that's $1 billion idea right there. Teamwork makes the dream work.
I've never heard every single bar manager and restaurant manager in history write that on a board in the back.
They will now that they've heard it.
I am totally not writing this down and sending it over to
China.
Hey,
don't do that. Don't send it to China. Yeah, but China will Google translate it wrong and it'll come out weird. It'll be like steam farts makes the streetcars or something.
I think we should all be there to support each other. I think we should all be there to fucking really help each other no matter what. Because that's what's so much fun, is creating a real.
Hey man,
turn your phone off, please.
You're doing a show. Can you put that bitch on vibrate?
Fucking team, like creating a real fucking.
While you answer that, who's that? Dracula, CIA.
No, that's my buddy.
CIA Dracula.
Yes, so beautiful. You were ending it. You were wrapping it up.
I was wrapping it up.
Phone went off.
I probably was better. I was starting to ramble on the way I do.
No. It was good.
But I mean, it is a heartbreak, and it's like I've never understood why people can't understand the value of, like, creating a really strong circle of friends.
I just want to say something. I want to say that.
Oh, that's where the clip ends.
I like how on Sam Tripoli's own show they clip something, and as soon as Sam's like, "I'd like to," all right, we're done with the clip.